Alright, first things first. I love Les Pauls, but I also hate them. Alright, the first issue is a Les Paul just takes up so much space. Now I don't mean like space like in your house. Maybe you do dedicate a room to a Les Paul. I don't know. I don't, but maybe you do. I'm talking about space in as far as like its sonic sound, in a mix, in a live recording, all that kind of stuff. A Les Paul, it is a very demanding guitar. It has a lot of low end to it, which is not really what you want for a guitar. You have to remember, a Les Paul, a guitar, Strat, whatever you have, is supposed to sound like a guitar. It's not a bass. You don't need it to do the job of a bass. So that's why when you're recording, a lot of times if you're using a Les Paul, you're going to EQ out so much of that low end. I almost never record two Les Pauls together, you know, like left and right tracks. I always have it paired with something else. And even when I do that, I still have to like take out so much low end. That's why a lot of people prefer to record SGs. An SG is basically like a Les Paul without all that flubby low end, you know, a Telecaster, all those things. So when I'm recording, I like to combine the two. So what I did was I put two tracks together. So you're going to hear one recorded both left and right side with the same Les Paul, okay? And listen how, to me, it sounds dark and muddy. The second track is going to have a Les Paul and an Esquire together, and the third one is actually going to have some mixing and all that stuff. I didn't do any EQing on the first two, but the last one I did, and you can hear how, to me, the track starts coming alive, and you can hear each individual instrument then. So you might have dug the two Les Paul one, but you have to remember, as you continue to add more and more layers, this was very simple. It was just two guitar tracks, a bass down the middle, and drums down the middle. As you add things like vocals, different harmony parts, layers, all that stuff, it all starts taking up more and more space. That's really where a Les Paul can kind of fall apart. You know, you don't want it just like, you know, gobbling up all the sonic space that you have. You have to have guitars that aren't so demanding. So one Les Paul, good. Two Les Pauls, it makes it rough, but you're going to have to EQ a lot of that out. Now, I know weight is something that everyone talks about with a Les Paul. You know, there's constantly, they're boat anchors, all these different analogies talking about how heavy they are, and there's no doubt at all, Les Pauls are heavy. Now, I've never used one live. I've always used Super Strats and all that kind of stuff, but my complaint is not so much just about the weight, it's the fact that a Les Paul is bottom heavy. So when I sit, if you look at my guitar, I lean it this way for a reason. Since the horn on it is so short, if I sit like I would with a Strat, it bottoms out and almost falls off my leg. It's something that you have to adjust. You have to get used to the way you hold a Les Paul. It's like I said, it's completely different than a Strat. So for me, the first complaint when I first got a Les Paul was I was like, oh, you know, I got to hold on to it for dear life because they're heavy. But even sitting down, like a lot of times if a guitar is heavy and you sit down, it's not too bad. But Les Paul, you got to adjust. I lean it this way, that way I don't have to like hold on to it the whole time I'm playing, but they're just bottom heavy. So let's talk about the upper frets, all the way up here. So the higher frets on a Les Paul is something that you really have to get used to. You know, anybody who picks up a Les Paul for the first time, they get up top here and they're like, whoa, it's different. It has a completely different feel to it. For me, I have to physically alter the way that my hand is on the guitar. And I mean, that for one, that happens, the scale length is different. I don't know if it bothers you guys or not, but for me, I have to take a minute to adapt to different scale lengths. And when I get on Les Paul, when you're up here, I have to kind of like angle my fingers a little bit more. You can see how when I'm up at the top here, I have to angle my fingers, and I tend to use these three fingers a lot more on a Les Paul. Then on a Strat, I might still use my pinky up here. But a lot of times Les Paul, I'm rocking 3 fingers. So the upper fret access is not the best, at least not on old school Les Pauls. I know that they've done some modifications where they've added cutaways and all that kind of stuff, and maybe that helps. I've never played one of those that I can think of, but the upper frets, I've always, I'm just like, a Les Paul for me is not a solo guitar. I know that there are amazing guitar players who just shred on a Les Paul, and they're a lot better than I am. So there's that, key ingredient, but also, for me, if I'm playing a solo, I really like to have a Strat, a Super Strat, even I don't know why a Tele doesn't have the same issue, even though they're very similar looking. I don't know. Upper frets, not my thing, but is it yours? All right, let's talk about comfort cuts. Now, to me, a Strat, it's one of the most comfortable guitars to play ever. Now, you might think differently about that. That's totally fine. But part of what makes a Strat so comfortable and kind of the evolution of just Fender guitars, think of the Telecaster. The Telecaster does not have comfort cuts in any way, and they're also blocky, The Strat has these real nice contours. It's a very round feeling guitar, and to me it's just one you can sit there and play for hours and hours and hours. Now, a Les Paul, it's kind of like the edges, they're rounded enough, but they're still a little bit sharp. Like as you kind of sit and play, you might end up slouching, and it digs into my ribs right here. So I've always kind of been like, well, I wish that there were comfort cuts on the Les Paul. Who knows, maybe that would hurt the sound because you'd be taking away, a decent little hunk of wood out of it to, accommodate for something like that. But for me, I was always like, I think it would have just been more comfortable if it had that belly cut, them comfort cuts on it, just like a Strat does. And you might be saying like, well, don't sit down and play the guitar, stand up. Well, you know what? It's a boat anchor, so touche. And the final thing here, which I don't have an issue with, but I thought, how could I make this video without mentioning it, is the tuning. Now, I know lots of people, there's the running joke, Gibson Les Paul, it won't stay in tune, 3/3 headstocks. And personally, I have never had this issue. I made a video a little while back about a little winding trick that I do. I wind the strings up. I'll give you guys some B-roll so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But this little bit of the break angle has always helped my Les Paul stay in tune really, really well. So you can check out that full video if you want to. But for me, tuning has never been an issue. Now, like I said before, Les Pauls have been plagued with different neck angles, tuning peg placements, all kinds of stuff. So there's no doubt there's different ones that maybe have more tuning issues than others. Maybe I've just gotten lucky and don't have these issues, but I was like, hey, I got to talk about it. Because I know people will be like, well, I bought a Les Paul that I couldn't get to stay in tune. And other people are like me, like, they changed locking tuners and then it solved the issue. Or like me, I just wind the string up a little bit more and it's not plagued by the tuning curse anymore. Alright everyone, that is going to be it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Hope you enjoyed the video. You're probably like, yo, what's up with all the lighting changes? Yo, trying lots of stuff out. So we're going to try to make the videos as good as possible this year. I'm really excited about some of the stuff that we're doing. So if you would, subscribe. You can like the video, turn the bell notification thing on, whatever all those YouTube-y things are that we're supposed to say. I just appreciate you hanging out with me. And if you would, come on back and let's hang out some more. All right, and I'll get the outro jams going back again on the next video. So until then, I'll see you all later. Bye, guys. Whoa, guitar high five.